That second clap was a bit weak. No, sorry, the second clap was okay. The third clap was really weak, in fact.
Yeah, I didn't even hear the third clap come through the microphone, to be honest with you.
We only need 2. It's fine.
You only need 2 claps in life. I think the third one starts causing problems.
Yeah. It's a bit like the third child. I don't know.
Have you ever had the third child?
No, I'm only one of 2.
Same here. So that's why we've avoided so many problems in our life. I think the third child never happened. Speaking of which, you're one of 2 children. You've got a brother, sister. What? Why have I never known this?
We have talked about it numerous times.
No, we haven't.
Yeah.
I don't know you. I didn't know you had a sister. She's older than you.
Yeah.
Oh, well, the more you know about your friends. I never knew you had a sister.
The more you know, the less you really know them.
The less you really care. Moving on. Speaking of 3 claps, have you ever? So in a situation, right? Have you ever been that person that was the last one to clap, or maybe you clapped a bit later than you should have, and then it's really awkward?
There's been times before when you have friends that are doing like a performance or something, and they're trying to show you a little bit of material they've made, and then you think it's done, and you clap, and it's not done.
Mate, I've had that. It's just you sat there and you're thinking, it comes to like, especially in dance pieces. It's just nightmares of sitting there thinking that they're done. The music slowly fades around. You start to clap, and then they carry on.
It all comes up again.
And he's, oh no, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
But the question is, do you just stop clapping instantly, or do you kind of slowly stop it and then
No,
bring it to a halt?
I stop instantly. Like that's one of the. It's almost like messing up a handshake. I like recoil back into a cocoon when that happens to me. I'm awful. I was at the gym once, and someone had left their car keys in the changing rooms. So I asked around in the area that I was in. It's like, are any of these yours? And they all said no. So I was like, okay, I'll go and take them to the reception. I get to the reception, and there's a guy asking the receptionists for his car keys and saying like, I've left them somewhere, I'm not sure where I put them. And I had them in my index finger, just dangling. And she pointed at me, and I looked over to him and was like, are these yours? And he was like, oh, thank you, brother. I really appreciate that. So I gave them to him, and I went, oh, it's all good. And I held out my hand to shake his hand. And he put his fist up to do a fist bump. And then I immediately swapped to do a fist bump, and he swapped to do a handshake. And we just like locked eyes for that 1 second.
Oh no.
And then I quickly like changed and grabbed his hand and tapped him on, like when you do that, you tap him on the elbow. And I just awkwardly laughed and walked off. The moment I stepped through those doors to get away from him, my face just receded, and I was, it's the worst thing in the world. I hate it.
It's the momentum as well, because I find that you've only got a finite amount of time to change your gesture before your hands just have to meet from the momentum that you gave them, and it, like your open hand meets his closed fist. It's a nightmare.
Have you ever shaken someone's hand that's trying to give you a fist bump?
What I've done is I've gone for, so do you know the classic bro hug?
Yeah.
Where you kind of you lock as if you're gonna go for an arm wrestle, and you kind of touch shoulders. I've gone for that before, and someone's gone for a fist bump, and in my wisdom, I just decided to power on through, and I just grabbed his fist and brought him in for a bro hug.
Okay, hey, I respect that, because I wouldn't be able to do that. I'd get halfway into the hug and then like pussy out and be like, no, I can't do it, and walk off.
At that point, it turns way too much into you cradling them instead of
it really does.
Just shaking their hands. You're just sort of like holding them. It's okay. Shh, it's okay.
Speaking of bad handshakes, I went to go and see my friend in a gig this weekend, right? Or the weekend just gone. And I'm very much a handshaker. Like unless I'm comfortable, I'll give you a hug. but like I didn't know anyone at this place. It was just my friend Sam, and I felt so out of place. I was dressed quite smartly. I don't really have, I guess like not an urban style, but like a trendy kind of style. I'm just well dressed,
Okay.
And everyone else is there wearing like rock shirts and tight jeans and stuff like that, and just casual clothes. And I lean over to Sam. I was like, Sam, I feel so out of place. I don't know anyone here. And luckily, he turns to me and goes, mate, the only people I know are my band. And that's it. Maybe a couple people from uni. I'm in the same boat. So, bless his heart, a good friend, he stuck next to me for the majority of the night, right? And introduced me to he introduced me to everyone in his band, all lovely people. And then he introduced me to some of his uni friends. Mm. And one of them, this probably like ruins me a little bit more than a bad handshake is, so I hold out my hand to go and shake this girl's hand, as you would. I'm like, Gareth, nice to meet you, right?
Yeah.
And so she holds her hand out, and I grab her hand, and she doesn't grip my hand. It's just such a limp, horrible. She doesn't even grip. I'm just grabbing her hand, and I shake it and let go, like a normal fucking human being would.
It's a wet fish handshake.
It's a wet fish handshake. She doesn't like she's open palmed me for the entire handshake and doesn't move her arm or hand. Her hand is completely open the entire time. There's no connection there, and she just like, nice to meet you, and then pulls her hand, like almost like slides her hand away from me. I'm like, ew, why? Just shake my fucking hand.
Maybe she expected you to, as the gentleman did of the time, to get down on one knee and to kiss the hand, to honor. My lady.
No, never in my life would I do that. I'm very much, doesn't matter, man, woman, whatever. I did it to Sam's mom as well. I was like, nice to meet you, even though I've known her my majority of my life, and just grabbed her hand. Nice to see you again. See you later. I just grab hands, shake, leave.
I'm trying to remember how we first met and what we did, because I have a feeling that we did a bro hug when we first met.
Yeah, of course we did. Mate, you were the smoothest person to date I've ever met in my life, and it was the smooth. This is why we're such good friends now, Joel, because of how you introduced yourself to me. I was at the bar in Noah's in Swansea. You tapped me on the shoulder. I didn't even see you walk in at all. I didn't know you were there. I was waiting for a drink. Tapped me on the shoulder, and like almost not even in a creepy way, you kind of leant in, was like, "You gonna buy me a drink then?" And because obviously the only person I knew who was coming was Rachel. I knew you were coming, but obviously I never met you in my life. I didn't even know what you looked like. And then I believe it was Morgan. It was either Morgan or Alana. I can't remember. And so you leant in and went, "So you're gonna buy me a drink then?" And initially in my head, yes, I'm like, who the fuck is this dude? I turn around and you've got the nicest smile and your arms are already just open wide. And I just go, and then we hug. That was how we met. And we just like bear hugged each other. And you could have been a complete stranger.
Yeah, it turns out I was actually wanting to get a drink from you and then just leave.
Turns out your name's not even Joel.
Speaking of names, I had a few funny times in my life where, so when I grew up, there was a group of lads that I knew from primary school. In fact, it was year 1 of primary school that we were all together as a group of friends. And then when I moved away, I kind of ended up knowing more of that friendship group as I got older, because we met when we sort of played games online together.
Okay, yeah.
And one of my friend's called Ben. I've known him for years, and we actually went to the same primary school, and we were in the same class as well. And I'd known him really well for this point for about a year and a half.
Mm.
So it was all going well. And we were all, I think we must have been about 15, 16, and we were all at a sleepover together. And we're talking, and Ben's saying, I remember you when you were in, our class. And I was going, I don't remember you. That's so strange. He said, no, we were really good friends. And I'm like, okay, why can't I remember you? And he said, yeah. He said, because what happened is you did this and you did this, and then you moved away. And I did move away. So I said, yes, I did. And then a bit later on in the conversation, he said, yeah, and you moved away to Scotland. And I said, but, well, I didn't. I moved away, a couple of miles north. He said, no, you moved away to Scotland for a while, and then you came back down. And I said, no, I didn't. And he said, yeah, you're Joe Robson.
Oh.
And I was like, no, mate. No, I'm not Joe Robson.
I'm not
he
Joe.
Said, who are you? Who have I been speaking to? Who are you? You're my good friend. What's your name? And he thought I was someone else the entire time.
That sounds honestly like one of my worst nightmares.
And since then, we've been the closest friends.
Mate, honestly, because I get that, like, working on extra sets and stuff like that, you tend to see the same person quite often, more than I thought you would, right? But I never go up to them first because I don't want to be like, I know you. What's your name? I just can't bring myself to like I'm socially in terms of social kind of etiquette as it is and being social, I'm a recluse regardless.
You're a hermit.
I am a hermit, and I will happily admit that I'm very socially awkward until I'm spoken to, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah.
Because, like, I remember speaking to Oat, and he was like, why don't you talk to people more? You're good at talking. Like, you're very, I guess, smooth in the way that you talk, and you've got a good, like, head on your shoulders. So why can't you talk to people more? Like, I'm fine if you initiate the conversation and I know you, or even if I don't know you, you're very open approaching me. But until that conversation is initiated, I will sit there like a little hermit crab in the corner and mind my own business. Because I'm introverted until someone's like, come on, get out.
You'd have to
talk.
Invite you out.
Yeah, exactly.
Put a little bit of conversational cheese outside of the shell and come on, it's okay.
It's okay, come on.
And then all of a sudden this werewolf of a man comes out. What do you want?
Or you just like you ask me if I'm going to buy you a drink and then give me a hug, and then from then on we're friends for the next 4 to 5 years.
That's
or
it.
That.
It just goes on.
This is why I say, like, the way you introduced yourself to me was the best way someone has ever introduced themselves, because from the first second of me talking to you, I was like, you're sound. I could talk to you for hours and be completely comfortable. Like, there wasn't an element of like, ooh, can I talk to this guy? When I tried to talk to him, he was a bit off. It was like you were open doors from the first second.
I think it sets the bar for where the conversation can go.
Yeah.
If you start a conversation and you say to someone, hello, my name is Joe, and I'm very, very nice to meet you. Are you well? It doesn't open any.
Would you like some tea?
Oh well. Do you like goats? It opens up the conversation, because all of a sudden they can come back with anything and not feel like they're going to be shamed for it.
Yeah.
But if you start on a really civil note, and it's something I do at work, because at work I have to be very civil, and I'm rubbish with being that civil. I'm kind of someone that I'd rather get down to a level with them first, and then say, hey Joel, how's it going, buddy? Let's just talk. But trying to be too professional, I'm rubbish at it.
See, that's, I guess, where we differ. When it comes to, like, professionalism in social situations, I'm fine. I know my job. I know how to speak to people in a professional manner. I'm not saying that you don't, but like I'm a lot more comfortable approaching someone if I'm working, which is quite weird, than I am in a social situation. I kind of treat it in the same way as like being on stage. Is if I am in a uniform, a work uniform, I'm not like me.
Yeah.
I'm not Gareth, who is Gareth. I'm an employee for this person, or I'm a manager for this company, or vice versa, whatever. So if they don't like me, I couldn't care less at that point, because it's like, all right, whatever, I probably won't ever see you again. But if I'm in a social situation with people that I could potentially spend a lot of time with in the future, it's like someone has to really kind of break the ice first, and then I'll be like, okay, I'm all right, I'm good, and then I don't shut up.
When you're acting under, it's almost like you're acting under a different alias, I find.
Yeah.
When
exactly.
you have a motivation that isn't going to represent you as a person, it's more about representing a job that you're doing or representing something else. I think it feels easier to detach yourself, and the kind of it lowers the stakes of what you're doing.
Yeah, no, completely. It really does. Because like you can always fall back on, I was just saying this because I was at work. It's not really who I am, or it's not really how I want to portray myself. It was just because I was at work, sort of thing.
That's not me.
There's that safety blanket of like, yeah, that was just a mask. I'll take it off now. This is who I am now. Sort of crap, which is completely false and completely like in your head, but it definitely does help you talk and step out of that comfort zone that isn't yourself, I guess you can call it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think it's very true as well, that when you feel like you have a mask on, even though you are you all the time, it feels a lot easier to just be able to be someone different when that's on, because then you can, like you say, you can say anything, and then you've always got the fallback of, when I go home, I can be truly me. I can be different.
Yeah.
But when I'm at work, I am my professional self.
Mm-hmm. So, in terms of like a social, I guess, interaction standpoint, you're more extroverted in that sense. You're a bit more open, and you'll talk to whoever or whatever.
Bring it on. I'll talk to Obama. Get him on the phone. Let's go.
No, seriously. Like, if you were invited to a party with a bunch of people you didn't know, would you just mingle?
Absolutely. I feel very, very comfortable in those situations, because a bit like when I met you, I feel like I can say something or do something which is going to set the bar at a place where people can just come back with whatever. You know, I think the problems arise when you try and approach a situation too sensibly, and you try and say, "Oh, hi, I'm Joel, and yes, what sort of job do you do?" But when you walk up to someone and come out with some random remark, I mean, not too random, but something, that just makes almost like zero sense, and they laugh at it and they think, "Who is this guy? He's a bit weird." But ultimately, then you rein it back in, and then they kind of go, "Oh, well, I'll see what talk to this person, see where it goes." And it's sort of like sliding into friendship without having to formally initiate it.
You also have something on your side, which is a real benefit, is that you are quite naturally charming in terms of how you speak, but also how you look. Because you've got a very friendly aura, I guess you can say. Because me and you, again, maybe it's our upbringing, but completely different. Whereas I feel that I'm sometimes quite scary to approach, because I could be frowning without realizing that I'm frowning, because that's just my face. But you've got a very, it's almost like you're always smiling. You've got a very nice, you're approachable is the best way to put it. You're very approachable.
But here's the thing, though, because I think out of the two of us, I think you're able to command probably more respect quicker than I can. I think you
Why
can.
do you say that?
Because of the air that you talk about, because it sort of comes across as It can be authority, a leader of a group. It's a very good quality to have, I think, because straight away, people, I think, respect that. And it's not a respect of fear. It's not like they're scared of you, but they just go, oh, this guy is someone who means what he says and someone to listen to, because he's not just talking bollocks all the time like I do.
Yeah, I walk up to someone and say, hi, my name's Gareth, and shake their hand. You're like, so guts? Yeah, they actually originated in up north. Yeah, no.
Yeah, the northern goats.
The northern goats, yeah, it's alright, yeah. I'm like, who the hell is this kid? But he's funny.
Yeah, and then he's great fun. Anyway, I must respect Gareth. Moving on.
I don't know. I don't know whether that's a very kind thing to say. So thank you, but like, I don't know. I've never thought about it that way. I think people just look at me as like, yeah, he doesn't seem like he wants to be spoken to.
That's probably because you wear a sandwich board that says "fuck off."
Maybe I should probably take that off in the future. Actually,
no, it's a great addition. It suits you.
You think so?
Yeah.
I mean, how else are people gonna know that like bacon sandwiches are $1.55?
Do they do gluten free?
God, what do you think we are? A charity? No, come on, get out of here. Gluten free.
On a tangent, I found the best gluten free bread the other day.
Oh yeah, is it full of gluten?
You can imagine. Sabotage. Work bought us basically like a breakfast. It was like a proper sandwich with eggs and bacon and spam and whatever else you want in there.
Uh-huh.
And we were like, because me and a couple of other people are gluten freaks, and we were like, oh, do they do gluten free options? And turns out they did. So anyway, the sandwiches arrived, and there was this bread, and we were like, this is gluten free. Doesn't look gluten free. Well, no, it's gluten free. So we tried it, and it was amazing. And it turns out that it's Warburton's Tiger Loaf.
Oh, if it's Tiger Loaf, that's perfect. That's the best type of bread. And don't even at me. Tiger Loaf is the best type of bread.
And it was just, it's the best gluten-free bread I've ever tried. And I don't know how they make it. Probably in a cauldron with spells and stuff.
Funnily enough, this might be a hunch, but I don't think they make it with gluten. Crazy, I know.
Revolutionary.
But no, that one, congratulations. I'm very happy you found some gluten-free bread, and I hope you can find it in stores where you can buy it. And two, back to social. All right.
They need to hear this.
What is your ideal social environment?
So one of the environments, I'll give you my best and I'll give you my worst.
Okay.
Because my best social environment, and they're quite close to each other. There's a fine line between the two, but they're sort of quite similar. Some of my favorite social environments are either people who I've known for a long time and know really well and can have a great chat with, or people who I don't know at all, and I don't know anyone, and I find integrating's really easy because kind of people give you a free pass because they don't know you and you don't know them, so they're sort of just like, oh, hi, who are you? What's your name? How are you? They kind of accept it because if you're bold enough to step into the group and have a conversation, they kind of accept it.
Uh-huh.
So that's one of my favorites, but one of the worst scenarios I find is when you know one person somewhere, and it's a big group of people, and you don't know anyone else.
So basically, me last weekend.
Yeah, right. Literally, when you said that, and I thought, oh no, because you're kind of going as not to say under a brand, but do you know what I mean? You're going under the umbrella of, oh, I know this person. So everyone's thinking, oh, well, we know what, I don't know, Jerry is like, and now Gareth is here with Jerry. Obviously, Gareth must be to do with that. So it instantly kind of puts an expectation on you, or a precursor or a prejudgment, I find. And that's so awkward because it's just,
I don't know if it's like a prejudgment. I got very much the impression when I was there that it was like, okay, so this is Sam's friend. I don't need to worry about getting to know him.
Yeah.
It's like it's the complete. Yeah, it's exactly like, oh, he's here to see Sam. He's not here to do this. He's not here to socialize. He's not here to do that. Granted, we didn't exactly make it better for ourselves because Sam is very much, I guess, like me in the sense of like we had a group of, I think, surrounded by 10, and Sam went, so I'm going to walk over to this quiet area. You're more than welcome to join me. And I just didn't say a word and just gravitated myself out of the group over to Sam. And we tried to, but it was really weird because no matter where both of us gravitated to, people gravitated to us. And I'm like, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it. And he's like, bro, I've been talking all night and I hate it. He loves it, but he hates it because like he's surrounded by a bunch of his friends, but he also didn't want to be surrounded by 10 people at the same time.
Yeah.
How many people at a gathering would you say is just the perfect amount for you?
Again, depends what gathering. If it's something like a house party or a kind of party environment, I would say anywhere between 10 and 20 for me is like a really sweet spot because there's enough people there to make it diverse socially, but not enough people so that everyone's just going to clique and no one's going to intermingle.
Right.
What about you?
Like 5. no more than 5 and I'm happy, to be honest, because I feel like once you start entering anywhere above 5 people, you end up not being able to. My biggest thing about being social is that I don't like leaving people out. I wanna be able to at least converse with all of them, if not one person at a time, and like switch between people. I want to give those people the at least the attention that they deserve when I am socializing with them. Because one massive bugbear, and it's one of my worst things that I hate on this planet, is ignorance. So if you're talking to someone, and maybe this is probably from my upbringing of like if my parents are on the phone and I'll be like, Mom, I would always get glared at. Or if they're talking to someone at a gathering and I come over and say, Mom, can I do this? I'd get glared at and be told to shut up until they're finished talking. Ooh. So maybe it's not. I don't really see it as cold because it's like if you're in the middle of a conversation, I don't think there's anything more rude than unless you approach it in a way of like, sorry to interrupt, but could I not necessarily borrow you, but like, sorry to interrupt, so and so did this. Can you give me a bit of a hand on what to do, or can you tell me what to do? But if it's just like, have you ever been in a situation where you're talking to someone and you're having a great conversation, and then someone they know comes over and immediately just basically kicks you out of that conversation and starts talking to them?
Yeah.
That to me is like, bro, if I wasn't like relaxed, I'd kill you.
And this is why they respect you.
No, they don't know that I'd kill them. All right, that's all in my head.
They can sense it on you. They can smell it.
Maybe, but that's one of my worst things, and I probably have ended up glaring at a lot of people because in work I don't mind, because if it is a case of like you go, sorry to interrupt you guys, but this customer needs help, then that's when it's like, all right, I'll go and sort that out, and then you come back and you carry on the conversation, or you leave it where the conversation ended. But if you're in a gathering of like, you're there to socialize, and someone's rude enough to kick another person out of a conversation, and it's not just that person, it's also the person that you're talking to, because if that person that you're talking to also is ignorant enough to be like, all right, fuck you, I'm going to talk to this guy now, even though we weren't finished with the conversation, it's also that guy's fault or girl's fault. So that really makes, I guess, my blood boil a little bit. Not even a little bit.
It definitely takes 2 to tango, or 3 to belly dance. It's really, really weird in those situations because all of this is happening as subtext.
Yeah.
Shout out to actors. It's all happening, under what's actually being said, but how people can feel involved, and you don't want to butt in. You don't want to try and steal a conversation back and start then fighting for the conversation either.
Yeah.
If you're kind of frozen out of a conversation, you sort of just feel like, okay, I'll just sort of move on and go and speak to someone else.
Some of the like, I guess some of my closest friends and some of the people I have the utmost respect for are the people that like come into a conversation that 2 people, 3 people, 4 people are having and listen for the first 5 minutes to see what they're talking about and then see if they can jump in and join in with that conversation, because that to me is like, that shows a really good understanding and a really good level of respect for the 2 people that are talking. And then if you don't know what they're talking about, it also gives them an avenue to turn around and say, hey, what I just overheard you guys speaking in like a pause of sentence, shall we say. What are you guys talking about? And they can both then explain to you, if they would like to, what they have their common interest in, and then that could be your common interest in the future. Like, I remember when I used to live with in my my second house in Cardiff, with the like 7 people that I lived with. They used to talk about UFC before I liked UFC, and I would just kind of like never interject in conversations until there was a moment where I could be like, all right, who are you talking about, or what are you guys talking about, or this, and like just ask questions, because you tend to find a conversation flows very well if you ask questions and if you're curious, because if they have an interest in it, they will more than likely tell you what they're talking about.
They'll want to talk, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They'll want to share that interest with you. As opposed to you interrupting and being like, what's that, you talking about UFC? Yeah, I saw Gordon Ramsay doing a steak the other day, and it looked really cool. And he's like, shut the fuck up.
I watched Gordon Ramsay's masterclass the other day, and I tell you this.
Yeah, okay, piss off. Go and tell someone that cares.
I don't know, but apparently it's meant to be pretty good. Anyway.
Regardless. But no, like, I don't think I've ever been that person ever since I've grown up, I guess, into adolescence, that is rude. I guess I'm very polite. I'm very British, I guess you could say, in a conversation. I won't interject. I won't butt in. I'll wait for people to stop talking. I'll say all my manners and stuff like that.
Hats off for anyone who can seamlessly integrate into a conversation. Like you said, you stand there for a minute or two, listen and get the gist, and then you can interject with a point that is relevant or a question that's relevant.
Yeah.
And that is a skill to master in and of itself. If you can do that, you're on the way to being a great person.
Yeah. Oh, completely.
Because it makes it a lot easier to talk to you, and it makes it a lot easier to be spoken to.
Yeah, exactly. In terms of like, now this is staying on the similar thread of like socialization. But obviously you have a girlfriend.
I do.
And you have been with your girlfriend for years now.
I have.
So you don't really, I guess you've kind of skipped out. I don't know. I can't remember. I think we have spoken. Wow. My brain went through a complete journey then.
Did you just journey through the 9 realms?
Sorry. We have spoken about it, but I can't remember very well. That's probably what I should have said. How you and your girlfriend have met, and like how you even ended up getting together. Was that a kind of thing that happened in a social environment, like in the sense of like you were at a place, a party, a course together? What was that about?
We'd been around each other ever since I'd moved down to Wales, and we'd known each other through various channels, through theatre and through classes, and we'd sort of, I mean, it was, obviously when anyone meets in the turbulence of college and all of because college is it's like a social Shark Tank.
It is,
everything is just kicking off, and a lot of it ends up being quite dramatic. But no, we met and sort of gravitated to. I'd like to say we kind of gravitated towards each other, and we definitely knew that we had a lot of attraction. And as we spent more time together, we also really enjoyed spending time together.
Yeah.
And the two just built, and to a point where we got together. We went on a date, and it was a brilliant, brilliant date, and it was quite interesting actually because I didn't think about this at the time. Maybe I was just sort of blind confidence. I don't know, but invited her to Cardiff and said, "Well, let's go to Cardiff for the day. We'll go ice skating." It's a bit of like a date, but she lived in Swansea. I lived in Llanelli. I won't try and say that again.
Yeah,
and we go into Cardiff, which is like an hour away on the train for the day. Socially, it's like marooning yourself on a desert island where if this doesn't go well, you're so far away from getting out of that situation that it kind of has to.
Yes.
And for me, like, I wasn't worried about it at all. I didn't think that we'd be struggling for conversation or be struggling for topics. And in the end, we didn't. We had a great time. And we were there like 12 hours of the day, and then we came home really late. And it was brilliant.
The reason I ask is, like, how did you go about getting on a date with said girlfriend?
Sort of just asked. Sort of just kind of, as we were growing closer and enjoying time together, it was like, do you want to go to...
Did you make that move in that sense?
Well,
or did you just kind of both agree and like, let's just go and do this together?
It sort of started as saying, hey, it'd be awesome if we all, as in me, her, and a couple of our friends, all went out for a day. It'd be really good fun. And it was kind of in the gist of being like, I'd like to spend more time with this person, but let's get some other people to come as well. So it just seems like it's a day of all of us.
Mm-hmm.
And then the more we talked about it, it'd be like, oh yeah, maybe these other two can't do it that day, or maybe we should just me and you. And it kind of whittled down from it's those friends to
your friends kind of ditched you, but like silently winged-manned you at the same time.
Yeah. They were like, I'm really sorry, we're both busy that day. But have a great time, guys. You should go.
Yeah, you should go by yourself. Oh no.
Yeah. So we kind of it was much. I'd call it like just a natural gravitational pull towards each other, which I found really nice because it wasn't anyone sort of stepping out and going, will you accompany me for the rest of my life to another city? It was more just this chemistry works and we're really enjoying it, so why stop now? And then slowly progressing it step by step. But I think it's a tough one as well because sometimes there's different expectations. I mean, like, let's say, because like currently you are a single Pringle.
Ow.
It's okay.
Yeah, sorry, I'm single. Yeah.
So have you cleared all the blood from that
sorry,
state?
Yeah, I was holding it in. Yeah, sorry, I'm single.
When you think about meeting the next special person in your life, how do you hope for it to go down, or what in your mind is like is a nice way for it for you guys to meet?
This is kind of like why I brought it up in the first place, because with the way I got a general idea of like how you and your girlfriend basically met and got together, but I couldn't remember it exactly. But I knew it was kind of on the lines of it almost just happened very naturally. So
yeah,
me bringing that up is because you have almost missed out, and it's not a case of missing out, but it's like you skipped, I guess, that period of time in a more prominently a male's life than females, stereotypically, where you go out a lot and you try and find yourself a girlfriend or a partner or even a boyfriend for that matter, because you've never had to in that sense. What you got, very fortunate in the sense of it happened quite young, and you didn't really have to go out of your way to make it happen. It very much happened naturally.
Yes. We met because we met sort of circumstantially.
Yeah. Whereas for me, my past relationships, whilst they've been quite similar, I guess my most recent one was a case of like, it wasn't me that made the first move, it was her. And okay. I mean, I was fine with it. I don't care who makes. I would much rather girls be more open to speak to men, but obviously at the same time, it's very daunting to try and speak to a guy when you're a girl. In the same way, it's very daunting for a guy to speak to a girl.
Oh yeah, that fear of being shut down is imminent, it's, no matter what sex or gender.
Yeah, exactly. And in regards to your question, what would be my ideal? I don't really think I have one. I haven't, as much as I poke fun and make jokes about me being single. There's a reason I'm single, and that's because I haven't gone out in the hopes of trying to find a partner, nor do I typically want one at the moment, because I just don't think I'm mentally capable of having a relationship after my previous one. Not to say that my previous one ended in a bad way, because it didn't at all. It was just, I think the relationship I did have made me realize that I wasn't mentally prepared, and in a sense, something that I thought I would be mature enough to be in a relationship.
Yeah, you've got to look after yourself and make sure that you're in a place that you're happy to share yourself with someone. Yeah, but absolutely.
That's the biggest issue for me, is that like whenever I've been in a relationship, doesn't matter who it was, my whole life from that point got completely enveloped with that other person instead of myself. Because while I'm single, I look after myself and that's it. I don't have to think about anything else or worry about anything else. Whilst I've been in a relationship, my whole thought process is them and not me, which is unhealthy. Yeah, exactly. It needs to be a balance of both. But in terms of ideal situations, I've, like, if you want to talk about like, what is your dream scenario? And that would be like finding a common interest with a person through like a course or through just a happens of meeting in that certain situation, whether it be through acting, voice acting, skiing, things that I have a love for, and then just happening to bump into one another, I guess would be the best way to do it, because I don't go out partying, I don't go to clubs, and there's certain things where, as guys, that's the kind of territory that you go to socialize and to find a partner, is like at a bar or at a club or, you know, certain things like that. Whereas I stay clear of completely.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't put myself in situations to socialize with those type of people who probably are looking to socialize in those environments as well. Like if I'm going to find a girlfriend, it's going to be like at the gym, or like if I'm on holiday skiing, or if I'm working. That's about it.
Great as well when you can find a common interest, because then you can get to know each other through that interest, and there's no pressure then to kind of impress each other or have to like each other. You can get to know each other pressure free. And then if you want to take it further with each other and get to know more, then you can sort of make it more datey and getting together-y.
Yeah.
But I think when you meet someone and there's like an instant expectation of, so are we getting to know each other because we might get together? And then all of a sudden it's just, it's like the pressure cooker's on then.
Yeah. You're giving yourself a lot more, I guess, expectation from each other to be like, all right, we both like each other, but we've definitely got to step up to the plate now, because we know we like each other, sort of thing. And I very much, I guess, I am that type of person, albeit it might be a bad thing. I do feel the need to not necessarily impress people, but to, I guess, to show people who I'm around in a social aspect that I'm worth being around. If that makes sense. So I don't want to seem like, this guy's boring, or this guy's useless. Like, I'm very much, if I'm in a social environment, I want them to be like, oh, this guy is sound, this guy is down to earth, this guy is really cool, or he does this or does that. I want something that they can take away where it's like, if I met him again, I would happily have a conversation with him again, sort of thing.
I wouldn't call it sort of a validation from others, but it's when you're in a social situation, it's really, really nice to have that positive feedback from other people.
Yeah.
Just so you kind of get a sense that you're getting to know each other and that you're not just unknowingly pitting them off sort of conversation after conversation. Yeah, it's nice to have that feedback loop to be able to know. Definitely.
On a funnier note, the idea when you talk to new people and they turn around and say, "Hey, what do you do?" and you just you say, "Oh, I'm a voice actor," or "I'm an actor," and then you've got the endless list of questions. Like, okay, what have you been in then?
Oh yeah, I hate that.
Oh, like, what have you done? And it's like,
oh no,
I'm trying to be an actor, okay? I'm not an actor.
So what have you done? Well, let me show you my portfolio of amateur dramatics.
Yeah, it was. I was speaking to someone. I was speaking to someone at the gym, and funnily enough, I started this conversation. Don't know what was wrong with me. I think it was like 6 a.m. So we started talking, and she turns around and says, "Oh, so what do you do?" Oh no, I asked her what she did, and she was like a pharmacist that's gone on to her own business. So she then asked me what I did, and I was like, I'm trying to become a voice actor. And she was like, "Oh, okay, so what have you been in?" And I went, like, her eyes basically like lit up, and she was like, "Oh my god, that's really cool." And the moment I said, "Oh, nothing yet, but I'm waiting to hear back from agents," that smile faded instantly. So I was like, "Oh, okay, so that's that conversation kind of gone." Yeah. And then it was really awkward because it wasn't awkward because the conversation carried on, but it was you noticed that look on her face had gone from "this guy's cool" to "oh, you're one of those."
An expectation where people kind of they want to see your accolades. They want to see what you've done and how, where you've got to. And yeah, you're like, "No, I'm sorry. I'm not successful yet."
Yeah,
but I could be.
Well, it's also as well, like, you talk to these new people. It is that, especially in England, it is that case of like, "Oh, I do this." The first thing they will ask is like, "Are you any good?"
Yeah.
Like, if I tell people I play badminton and squash, the first thing I get is like, "Oh, are you any good?" It's not like, "Oh, that's cool." It's, "Oh yeah. So who'd you play for then? Do you play county?" What is it? So I think there is I guess that might be a level of why when I talk to people I have to feel the need to, I guess, be impressive for myself, because that's what I've grown up with. Of, if I talk to anyone that doesn't know me and tell them what I do or my hobbies or my interests, it is that there's that bar of expectation that they have that I feel like I have to meet.
If you just tell them you're a stay-at-home cat dad.
I don't own cats though,
You can do in this story.
Okay, cool. Stay-at-home cat dad. Then I'll never get a girlfriend.
No, you will. It'll be great. I'll be like, "Oh,
yeah, but then they'll just use me for my cats." Because then what happens then, Joel, is I say, "Oh, I'm a stay-at-home cat dad." I was like, "Oh, can we go and see your cats?" And I'm like, "Shit." So I bring them home, and all that's waiting for them at the door is a tiny toy poodle dog. This is my cat. And then they think I'm an idiot.
And when you say toy poodle dog, just for reference, you mean a real dog?
Yes, of course I mean a real dog. I mean a toy poodle breed.
It's a plastic poodle that sits on the floor.
It may as well not be a dog, because she doesn't act like it. She's on like human medication. All she does is sleep all day until the postman comes, then she barks, and that's it.
Are you telling me that your dog is just, buying cannabis? How does this work?
Yeah, she's smoking weed.
Nice.
Constantly. She's stoned out of her mind. You should hear her bark. She's like, woof. That's it.
It's like when you go on a keyboard and you do that pitch bend on the left.
What?
You know, on a keyboard, you've got you press a note, and then you've got that sort of slide that goes, ooh.
When you said keyboard, I thought you meant like something you type on. Not a piano.
Doesn't your computer keyboard have pitch bend, Gareth?
Sorry, yeah, no, it doesn't. I have to do that like manually with my voice. So that's what
you've obviously got an earlier model. You need to update.
That is true. I do need to update at some point. But that requires me going outside, Joel, and I don't think I want to do that.
No, that's true. We can't ever go outside.
That's why we do these podcasts. So we have to stay inside. That way, if it gets successful, Joel, I never have to leave my house again.
That's an incentive.
That's an incentive for people to subscribe, hit the notification bell, so that I don't ever have to leave my house again. Do it for the guys. Do it for us. I can stay the hermit.
The charity of stay-at-home cat dads.
Yeah. Link to our Patreon down below. Make sure you you fund so we can stay at home forever.
It's funny that you say that. Stay that? No.
Oh God.
No.
Call it quits.
Let me get the dictionary out. It's funny that you say that because at least in my like little flat, where my recording booth is the most insular room. It's a room within a room next to a corridor that's just packed in with other rooms and foam, and it's just like the most insulated room that we have. It's a bit like the panic room. It's all dark as well.
You heard it here first, folks. Joel has an inception room. That's a room in a room that's in a corridor that's in a room that's in a room.
That's in a church.
That's in a church. Anyway, Joel, it's always been a pleasure, regardless of the fact that I have to speak and socialise.
Always. It's always been a pleasure. And it always will be a pleasure. And I look forward to you actually buying me a drink whenever I see you next.
I definitely won't. See you, Joel.